ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमः। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंश कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ स्वामी नामने नमः। ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेषण्यवाद पश्चादेष्टारणे मूकं करोति वाचालं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं। हरि ओम तत्सत्। हरे कृष्ण। So welcome everyone for the continuation of the discussion of the fourth canto. We'll be discussing today the 22nd chapter of the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavad. This chapter is entitled Prithu Maharaj's meeting with the four Kumaras. This particular chapter is essentially a philosophical conversation full of wonderful instructions on devotional service given by the four Kumaras to Prithu Maharaj. It's a long chapter, 60 something verses. Let us see how far we can, 63 to be precise. Let's see how far we can get. We may be able to complete the chapter, but I'm not very sure at this point in time. Let us see. So first of all, hope all of you have had a wonderful Rath Yatra celebration. Yesterday was Sri Jagannath's Rath Yatra, which was celebrated in Puri, Dham, and also celebrated across the world in many places. I hope many of you attended in your respective places. So in Kuala Lumpur, we had a celebration here because we have Sri Jagannath Mandir. So Jagannath Ji is the presiding deity. So there was a festival. I think in many other parts of the world, there have been big festivities. So it is a very wonderful observation, a festival to observe, and also a very special one, especially for the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Especially because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave great importance to this festival, and he explained to the world the deep inner spiritual significance of this festival. So when we discuss the Chaitanya Pravaha, we will of course be discussing those pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's very special interaction with Jagannath. The last 18 years of the manifest pastimes of Lord Chaitanya were spent in Puri, out of which 6 were in terms of his interaction with the various devotees in Puri, including participation in Rath Yatra and so many other preaching exploits. The last 12 years were in isolation, where Lord Chaitanya was absorbed in a very deep mood of separation from Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu represents the epitome of the mood of separation. So he is Krishna, who's in the mood of Radharani, who's feeling separation from Krishna. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Jagannath Ji, Lord Jagannath, is Krishna, who's in a mood of separation from Radharani and the residents of Vrindavan. So this is a very, very special understanding. And there is great spiritual significance of Lord Chaitanya's being in Puri, his taking darshan and his dancing in front of Lord Jagannath. And there are many chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita which are dedicated to this beautiful description, how he danced and how he performed beautiful pastimes with Lord Jagannath. So anyway, we are not going to go into that. I just thought I'll just briefly mention. We will discuss that when we discuss the Chaitanya Pravaha. So I hope you will all remain tuned to the Chaitanya Pravaha series. Please do continue. In that way, you will be able to taste the sweet nectar of the divine pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So today we are going to continue with the pastimes of Prithu Maharaj, this very great empowered incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Empowered with the Shakti to rule the whole planet Earth. We discussed how Prithu Maharaj is the Adi Raj, the original king, the first king, who set up a very organized government to make sure human society is very well organized, making sure that towns, villages, schools, farming activities, everything is done properly in a very organized way. Planned towns and cities evolved at the time of Prithu Maharaj. And he made special effort to make sure that he performed the prime duty of a king. Anybody remembers? We discussed this in the last class. What is the prime duty of a king? Anyone?
To take care of each and every citizen so that they can materially and spiritually grow.
Okay. Yes. Suresh Sundar Prabhu. Yes. Thank you, Suresh Prabhu. That is correct. Yes. I want to. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Basically, as far as the king is concerned, he has to make sure that all those people who are living in under his care and protection are given the adequate protection and so on, because at the end of the day, if anyone sins, one sixth of the sins, I think the king also is supposed to take. That means in short, he has to make sure that proper care is given to all those under his protection, under his kingdom.
Okay. So what does protection actually mean? You are right. Both of you gave the correct answer. But what is the way that he protects the citizens? Is it just about physical protection? Yes, it is about physical protection at one level, but that is not the ultimate aspect of human civilization. So what is the very specific thing that he mentions? We discussed this in the last class.
Karma Mitra Bhakti or Bhakti Mitra Karma. He was asking the people to do devotional service and provide the results to God.
Yeah. So
Teach
yeah,
the
you're
duties about Varna and Ashrama.
yeah, correct. Yes, thank you, Amit. So all of you are correct, but the one line answer to the question is that to ensure, to guide and facilitate and protect the performance of the prescribed duties by all the citizens. Of course, ultimately in the mood of detachment and service to the Lord, yes, and that could be Karma Mishra Bhakti, Bhakti Mishra Karma. But it is very important that everybody performs their prescribed duties properly. And if that is done properly, then there will be overall material and spiritual happiness and growth for the entire community. And that is the prescribed duty of the king, to ensure that the citizens perform their prescribed duties. See, ultimately, what is the definition of sin? Definition of sin is deviation from prescribed duties. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, if a person performs his prescribed duties, even if there is some apparent fault of one person's prescribed duties when it is compared to another person, still there is no sin, as long as one performs one's prescribed duties. Krishna says performance of prescribed duties is not affected by sin, and that is why one should not give up one's own prescribed duty, even though it may be faulty. So that everyone performs their prescribed duties in the right mood, so that they evolve wonderfully, spiritually and materially. Okay. So yes, so that is what was discussed. And after Prithu Maharaj spoke about this, then he spoke about the glories of the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. All the citizens were very, very happy to have such a wonderful leader, such a wonderful king, because that is a great blessing for any country, for any kingdom, to have a wonderful dharmic leader who is an excellent example of devotional service, also an excellent administrator, and also very conversant with dharmic principles and the protector and the implementer of dharmic principles. This is very, very wonderful. Everybody wants a king like this. Of course, the greatest and the topmost example is Ramchandra, Maryada Purushottam Sri Ramchandra. But here, Prithu Maharaj, amongst the empowered incarnations, also such a very wonderful example. Of course, Yudhishthir Maharaj also is a very wonderful example. And there are, of course, so many others. But the Bhagavatam specifically mentions about Prithu Maharaj. So this chapter begins as the previous chapter ends, because as the previous chapter was ending, the citizens in the kingdom of Prithu Maharaj are glorifying Prithu Maharaj. And as they were glorifying Prithu Maharaj, it is said suddenly the four Kumaras, the four sons of Brahma, they suddenly appeared in the sky, bright like the sun. They are very effulgent. Even though their physical forms are tiny, because they look like 5-year-old boys, even though they are practically, after Brahmaji, the oldest living entities. They suddenly arrived there. And seeing their effulgence, seeing their personality, Prithu Maharaj, of course, could recognize, because the four Kumaras are very distinct in their appearance. How do they look like? They are all 5-year-old boys. Their bodies are like 5-year-old boys. They are not 5-year-old. How old are they? They are practically almost as old as the universe. Very old. But they chose to remain like 5-year-old boys, practically not dressed in anything. like brahmacharis, and just traveling around giving transcendental knowledge. So just like Prithu Maharaj is the incarnation, Shaktiavesh incarnation of the Lord for ruling the world, the four Kumaras are also a Shaktiavesh incarnation of the Lord for the purpose of distributing transcendental knowledge. Jnana. They are the Shaktiavesha avatar for giving transcendental knowledge. Narad Muni is the Shaktiavesh incarnation for giving bhakti, but the Kumaras are Shaktiavesh incarnation for giving transcendental knowledge. Just like Narad Muni often goes and travels and appears in various places wherever he wants to instill bhakti, where there are proper recipients. He does that. Similarly, the four Kumaras, there are many conversations across the scriptures in many places where the four Kumaras, who are perfectly liberated souls, they travel all the world and come and appear in front of various eligible people to instruct them and through them the rest of the world about transcendental knowledge, spiritual knowledge. So Prithu Maharaj, when he saw the four Kumaras, he was so happy, he was so excited. And this is the quality of a devotee. It is said when a devotee sees other devotees, he should become happy and excited. In fact, the scriptures say it is an offense that one sees great devotees and one doesn't feel happy when one sees them. So this is also something to note. It is an aparad. Of course, neglect is definitely an aparad, but even to not feel happy on seeing a great soul is also an aparad. So the king and his citizens immediately got up to receive the four Kumaras. They were so happy. And the Bhagavatam says how happy and how excited Prithu Maharaj was. As happy and excited as a conditioned soul is for sense gratification. Just like a conditioned soul who's very eager for materialistic enjoyment suddenly sees the objects of material enjoyment, he becomes so excited. So similar eagerness and taste Prithu Maharaj had. Like, just like if we are very attached to eating nice food, suddenly a feast is laid out in front of us, how our eyes will become. Or for a person who is very lusty, he sees a very attractive form of the opposite sex in front of him, how eager they'll become. So just like that, on seeing the great soul, he became very eager. Because those who are great souls are themselves very eager to take the association of advanced personalities. So in a very exemplary manner, Prithu Maharaj, very humbly, with his shoulders bent down, he invited them, he offered them a place to sit, he worshipped them because they are such great sages, he worshipped them according to the rules of scripture, he offered them a sitting place. He washed their lotus feet and sprinkled that water on his head. This is the custom when very great souls who are in the position of a spiritual master or very advanced devotees, they come, then we honor them by washing the feet, sprinkling the water on our head, and worshipping them, and treating them and honoring them like the representatives of the Supreme Lord. So the principle that is applied here is that Sakshat Dharitvena Samasta Shastri, that the spiritual master, the advanced devotees, they are directly the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So just like in a country, like I'm based in Malaysia, So there's the High Commissioner of Malaysia in India, High Commissioner of India in Malaysia. And he represents the Indian government. So wherever he goes, he has to be treated as the representative of India, not just as Mr. XYZ. He becomes His Excellency, right? Why he becomes excellent? Because His Excellency is that he is representing the state. So treating him is like treating the state. That is the principle. So he set the proper example of how a great saint should be treated. And with great respect and restraint. Restraint means when one is in presence of a great soul, one should be very careful about what one says, how one behaves. Because every behavior, every word should be done in such a way that it shows proper respect. So very carefully, in a very humble way, he started addressing the four Kumaras. The four Kumaras were by that time seated on a golden throne which Prithu Maharaj has arranged. So Prithu Maharaj starts speaking to the four Kumaras and he starts by glorifying his own good fortune. He's saying, oh, I do not know what great good fortune I have done. That such great souls are very, very difficult to even see. Because the four Kumaras like Narad Muni, you cannot just say that, okay, I'll go and meet them and come. If you happen to have the amount of pious activities to become fortunate, to happen to get their darshan, this is a very great thing. Because the darshan, even the mere darshan of pure devotees is a very great blessing. What to speak of getting the opportunity to interact with them, to hear from them, and topmost amongst it is the opportunity to serve them and receive instruction from them. So Prithu Maharaj is saying, I am so fortunate. I don't know what pious activities I performed that you, who are so difficult to get even darshan of, durdarshanam, even for great yogis, what to speak about ordinary people, even for great yogis, you are difficult to get darshan and you have come to my home. When personalities like you come and give their association to us by the greatness of the power of your association, it is possible for persons like us to achieve even the greatest favors which Lord Vishnu and Lord Shiva can grant to people in general. Because you are such empowered representatives of the Lord, you are capable of giving those kind of blessings. So you are very, very kind to me by giving me this opportunity to serve you. And then he says two very interesting things. One thing he says is, and he says this as an instruction to all the gathered residents of his kingdom, that even if one may not be very opulent, to give a golden throne and do elaborate worship, according to one's position, one must do everything to serve such a great personality and receive such a great personality. It may even be as simple as just offering a simple straw mat, even offering some water and some sweet words. But it's very important to do to the utmost of one's capacity. But those people who have the resources, those who are rich, but they are miserly in their mind, in their consciousness, who do not recognize the greatness of such advanced personalities. And because of that mentality, they do not invite or allow great Vaishnavas to enter their home. And those homes where the feet of very exalted devotees are not washed, he says their homes are like trees in which poisonous serpents stay. Very interesting point. So what he's saying is, if we have homes where we do not invite devotees and serve devotees, then our homes are no better than snake holes. So this is also a very important point for Grihasthas. It is very important that a part of the Grihastha culture, a very important part of Grihastha culture is to invite and serve guests, especially devotees. And especially, of course, all devotees, but especially the exalted souls. And when great souls come to our home becomes purified, our wealth becomes purified, our life becomes purified. So it is a very essential part of Grihastha Dharma. And Prithu Maharaj being the king, and because he is very keen to not only follow the right example himself, but demonstrate the right example, because this is part of the Varnashram duties of for all Grihasthas to properly honor, respect guests, especially those who are Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, Sadhus, Sannyasis. It is all very important. He says, and you are just not just important people, you are the topmost amongst the Brahmanas. What is the meaning of a Brahman? The scripture says, Brahma janati iti Brahmana. Some people say Brahman means just one who has a thread, one who has a shikha, one who is born in a particular family. No. The proper definition of a Brahman is he who is conversant with the science of Brahman is a Brahman. Brahma janati iti Brahman. He who understands the knowledge of Brahman or the supreme absolute truth is a Brahman. You are the topmost of the Brahmana. You are perfectly well versed in all transcendental knowledge, and you are strict brahmacharis. You are Naishtika brahmacharis, means you have been brahmacharis since your very birth. You have never violated the vows of brahmacharya, and you are very, very experienced in the path of liberation. You have been so serious about the path of liberation that you have always chosen to remain like 5-year-old children. This is what Prithu Maharaj says. Now, for those of you who are not aware of the pastime, at the beginning of creation, when Brahmaji starts the process of Visarga, the universal creation, and is creating different species, and he wants different species to be created from whom the further procreation will happen, he first creates the 4 Kumaras. So when he creates the 4 Kumaras, he instructs the 4 Kumaras that I want you to assist me in procreation and populate the universe. The 4 Kumaras are such exalted souls. They tell the father that yes, we respect you very much, Brahmaji, you are our father, but sorry, this instruction of yours we cannot follow. This one instruction we cannot follow. You can give us any other instruction. This instruction we cannot follow, because the scriptures say that all instructions one should follow of the father except the instruction to get married. If one wants to become renounced and becomes a sannyasi, one can refuse to get married. So we are not interested in this material world and material affairs. We don't want anything to do with this material world. We just want to be situated in perfect transcendental realization. So we're not going to get married. And we don't even want to be tempted by Maya at all. So we will ensure that we will maintain our form, our bodily form, as long as we live in this world, which is practically for the purpose of the entire creation. as 5-year-old boys, which means their body never grows beyond a 5-year-old boy's form. So in that way, we will never be attracted to all these other attractions of Maya. We just remain like small, innocent 5-year-old children. So that's what Prithu Kumaras is saying. You are so serious that since your birth, you have shown such commitment to spiritual knowledge and spiritual advancement. For people like us, Prithu Kumaras is saying, who are just living lives of sense enjoyment. Of course, he's presenting himself in a very humble way. He's not attached to sense enjoyment, but he's representing a typical Grihastha, Indriyartha Vedinam. And those who have fallen into samsara, patita nam swakarmabi, those who are entrapped in samsara because of their own materialistic activities. What can be a greater benediction than your giving us your association? And after saying this, Prithu Maharaj, normally when we see a great personality and after it is said, after we welcome them, then we can just speak about their welfare and just speak some sweet, pleasing words. But in this case, Prithu Maharaj felt, oh, how can I ask about the welfare of the 4 Kumaras? Correct. Normally, when we meet each other, what do we say usually? What is the first thing we will say? Other than offering obeisances, anybody? What will be the first question we will ask?
How are you?
How are you? So we ask about each other's welfare. That's common, right? How are you? But Prithu Maharaj felt embarrassed. How can I ask them how are you? They are perfectly situated in transcendental realization. They are not affected by happiness, distress, gain, loss. This question like how are you has no meaning to their life because they are perfectly situated in transcendental realization. And that is why he addresses them. And he says, actually, oh 4 Kumaras, you are so exalted, you are so advanced. For me, there is no need to ask for your welfare. Because you are Atma Ram, you are always deriving pleasure in the self. You are not affected by these mental concoctions of happiness and distress. Oh, this happened, this was bad. Oh, this happened, this is wonderful. This kind of attraction and repulsion is in the mind of conditioned souls who are swayed by the 3 modes. It doesn't affect the liberated souls like you. Because for you, what is auspicious and what is inauspicious? You're totally indifferent to all material considerations and you are experiencing transcendental bliss. And you are the well-wishers of us. That's why I do not want to ask you that question. But I want to ask you another question since you are here. The question is not how are you? The question is how people like us who are suffering in this world, how we can achieve our ultimate benefit. What is the point of asking you, how are you? We know how we are, which means we are suffering. So the question is to you, please tell us, oh well-wisher, what will be the best benefit, Kshema, for all of us? Very beautiful question. See, this is the question by which one goes to the spiritual master. Prabhupada often says, across the purports in different books, Prabhupada says that one doesn't go to the spiritual master and says, oh Maharaj, my business is not going on well. Oh Gurudev, I have this problem, that problem. As soon as Radhanath Maharaj was once saying, once one person came to him and he said, Maharaj, I need your help, I need your blessings. He said, what is it? He said, no, I'm having constipation. So you don't go to a spiritual master if you have constipation. You go to a doctor and take the medicine. You go to a Vaidya or a doctor or somebody. You should approach a person for the right reason. You don't approach a spiritual master just to solve some material petty problems. It's not that he's not competent to give that blessing, but that is not the purpose for which he is manifesting himself in this world. He can give the greatest blessing by giving the instructions of the means by which we can elevate and go beyond all suffering of the material world. So that is the right use of his association. That is the right use of his time, of his presence, because it's so rare. So quickly, Prithu Maharaj, he kept all other topics aside, straight to the point. No point asking about how you are doing or how you came, everything okay. You are all okay only all the time. Of course, this doesn't mean that for us in our everyday interaction, we don't ask this question. This is not the point. We can, but the point is, in this case, 4 Kumaras are, so transcendental that it would have been, very awkward and funny for a Prithu Maharaj who knew their position to, ask such a question. How are you doing? Not that there is something basically wrong in our day-to-day dealings. Of course, we can ask this question and ask about the welfare of each other. Of course, we don't ask our spiritual master, how are you doing? Okay, that is not the right way. Amongst each other, we can. Very advanced devotees, we don't ask such questions. Says, please instruct. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is very far out of the reach for conditioned souls like us, he becomes accessible to us through personalities like you. Prithu Maharaj is saying. He says, Vyaktam Atmavatam Atma Bhagavan Atma Bhavanah Swanam Anugrahaye Mam Siddha Rupi Charati Ajaha. Self-realized souls like you, Siddha Rupi, travel all around the world just to show mercy to the Lord's devotees. Why? Because the Lord is so eager to elevate and deliver all living entities that he sends his empowered devotees in this world, and they travel around to dissipate the ignorance and distribute the knowledge of bhakti. So having said like this, Prithu Maharaj submits this very wonderful request. He says, please, you tell us how we can be delivered. So this very beautiful, meaningful, concise speech, no fluffy language that Prithu Maharaj used, and very concise, perfect question. The 4 Kumaras were very pleased because they could see that he is receiving us in the most perfect way, and he is also asking the most perfect question. He also doesn't want to waste our time, and he's asking those questions which are beneficial. So asking right questions is also a very great art. And across the Srimad Bhagavad, we will see how when there are conversations between two personalities, when the questioner asks beautiful questions, the speaker becomes so enlivened that, oh, this person is asking the perfect questions which are worthy of asking. Sutta Goswami becomes so pleased with the sages of Naimisharanya. He says, oh, you are asking the best questions. Those are the perfect questions. Because these are questions about Krishna. Yat krita Krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. Because when questions are related to Krishna, the Atma becomes satisfied by hearing that topic. If you are simply discussing about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and especially Dharma, Artha, Kama, then the senses will simply become mind and senses will simply become agitated. But when we speak about transcendental subject matters, that will lead to a real benefit. So the 4 Kumaras headed by Sanat Kumar, Sanat Kumar, Sanatan and Sanandan. These are the 4 Kumaras. He says, Sadhu Prishta. Beautiful question you have asked. You asked a beautiful question. Why? Because you are always thinking about the welfare of others. Sarva Bhuta Hitatmanam. Actually, you know everything, Prithu Maharaj. You are yourself a pure devotee. You are yourself an empowered incarnation. We are the empowered incarnation of Jnana Shakti. You are an empowered incarnation of the Lord's potency to rule. the Shasan potency, the ruling potency. But you are asking question not because you don't know, but because you are very eager for the benefit of your citizens, that you're taking this opportunity to ask the right question. So just like you are eager to take our association, we are also eager to take your association. So when two great devotees meet, actually here, this is, even though Prithu Maharaj is taking a very humble position, because they are so senior and he is at an external level by a social convention, much younger and a grahastha, and they are, renounced brahmacharis. But at a spiritual platform, both of them are pure devotees. And both are happy that they are getting an opportunity to come together and discuss Hari Katha. So the Kumaras are also very, very happy. Just like you want our association, we are also very happy to take your association. So in a Hari Katha, actually, that's why it doesn't really matter who is speaking and who is listening, because both are relishing Hari Katha. The speaker also is relishing, the hearer is also, the listener is also relishing. So it's a beautiful churning of the divine name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sanat Kumar says, this kind of sambhashan, discussions, where there is some prashna, perfect questions, where one reaches sammat, the right conclusions, in a congregation of devotees, in a sangama of sadhus, this is the perfect event to organize. What is the perfect event to organize? Where devotees come together. Sadhunam sangama. Sadhu here means, doesn't just mean saffron people or sannyasis. Sadhus means those who are devotees of the Lord. When they come together or organize a program where devotees come together so that perfect discussion of Hari Katha happens, so that everyone understands and is aligned with the spiritual conclusions. Such meetings, such programs, such events spread happiness for both the speaker and the listener. Ubhayesham. Ubhaya means both the speaker and the listener. So they appreciate his question. They are also eager for the association of Prithu Maharaj. And they said this is a wonderful gathering, because along with Prithu Maharaj, his subjects are also there. So there is already Sadhu Sangama. There is the great soul. There is a great person to ask the right question. And there's a perfect audience who is also eager to hear. So the Kumaras start instructing the science of transcendence. Of course, Prithu Maharaj has asked a very broad question. For people like us, actually Prithu Maharaj briefly had already answered that question, isn't it? We discussed earlier how he speaks about Karma Mishra Bhakti and Bhakti Mishra Karma, that all of you should do your duties and you should do detach and you should offer the fruits to the Lord. Ideally do for his pleasure, but if you cannot do for his pleasure, at least renounce the fruits of activities for his pleasure. If you cannot do that, at least have faith and understand him and at least do Bhakti Mishra Karma. So he gives those levels briefly. But now the Kumaras is going to expand on that topic for the benefit of all those who are gathered there. So the next many verses are actually instructions or revelations of transcendental principles by the four Kumaras. So please listen. Actually, we are so fortunate. See, we are so fortunate that these topmost of conversations have been recorded. Isn't it? I mean, just imagine that, we are told, oh, on this day at this place, this great souls came and they discussed the topmost philosophy, and this was the question asked. We say, oh yes, this is exactly my question for a person trapped like me. What is it that I should do to attain the supreme benediction? Oh, I missed it. It happened and I was not there. But the great good fortune for us is it has been recorded. Of course, nowadays we do audio recording, right? Here also we are doing a YouTube broadcast so that even if you have missed, you can listen to it later. So we are so fortunate that so many of these wonderful conversations, the Gita itself also and the Bhagavatam, so many wonderful conversations the sages have recorded for all of us. So please hear very attentively, because Prabhupada would often emphasize that when we hear very attentively with faith and with eagerness these conversations, the effect that we will have is practically as good as if we were actually present there. Prabhupada emphasizes this even in Bhagavad Gita. He says, we don't have to feel that, oh, Arjuna got this opportunity to hear from Krishna. We didn't. No. If you are listening to the Bhagavad Gita in parampara from the right people, and they are explaining Bhagavad Gita as it is, you are getting the same benefit. If you are in the same consciousness like Arjuna, you will get the same benefit. So Krishna is still accessible through the sadhus, through the scriptures. Book Bhagavad and person Bhagavad. Remember, Chaitanya Charitamrita also we were discussing the same thing. Why did Chaitanya and Nityananda come? To ensure that the book Bhagavad and the devotee Bhagavad, their importance and the process of taking their association is established. And this is exactly what we are doing now. So the first point that the Kumaras start by instructing Prithu Maharaj and the whole audience. See, the essential reason for suffering in this world, because what he has said is how we will achieve goodness, how we will be relieved of the miseries and attain a state of perfect happiness. That is the question, isn't it? That's ultimately what all of us are looking for. I am suffering so much, I have so much misery, I have so much trouble. At home trouble, at job trouble, relationships trouble, society trouble, country trouble, everywhere trouble, trouble, trouble. I'm not finding happiness. I'm looking for it, but I'm not able to find it. So how do I achieve lasting happiness? So first they start by explaining how one should can stop the suffering, and the way one can stop the suffering is by controlling the cause of the suffering, which is lusty desires. Yes. If you remember in the Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, Arjuna asks Krishna, what is it, Krishna? What is it that causes the living entities to suffer and to do activities, even if they don't want to, sinful activities? Atakkena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha. And what does Krishna answer? Kama esha, krodha esha, rajoguna samudbhava, mahashano mahapapma vidhena miha vairinam. The enemy is lust, which when frustrated gets transferred into wrath. So the formula for attaining happiness is first how to subdue this lust. Because as long as lusty desires burn in our heart, our minds, our senses will continue to burn. They will never be satisfied. They'll not be satisfied even though we may give them sense objects. This is something which living entities who are suffering in this world don't understand. They think that by satisfying materialistic desires, they'll be happy. But happiness doesn't come by satisfaction of material desires. That is the message of the Gita and the Bhagavad. Because lust continues to burn in the heart and will continue to disturb and agitate the mind and the senses. And that is not the path of auspiciousness. So first, the Kumaras congratulate the king. They congratulate the king by saying something very beautiful. They say a very beautiful verse. Asti eva rajan bhavato madhudvishaha padaravindasya gunanuvadane ratir durapa vidunoti naishtiki kamam kashayam malam antaratmanaha. Not only you have asked a wonderful question, but you are actually very greatly fortunate, O Prithu Maharaj, Why you are extremely fortunate? Because you are already having very strong inclination for glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His qualities. Such attachment for hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord is one very rare. And it is also very, very desirable. Why it is very desirable? Because it is this attachment to hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord that will deliver a person, because it is this Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoho which will cleanse the heart of all the Kashayam, Kamam Kashayam, all the impurities of lust which are there in the heart, they will be purified through the process of hearing and chanting. And you are very fortunate because you have attained a very rare goal, a very rare milestone in spiritual evolution, which is a fixed attachment to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. So very interesting thing. They are glorifying, but at the same time they are instructing that the real good fortune for living entities is to have that attachment to hear and chant about the Lord. So imagine, for us, to whatever level, whatever extent we are all eager to hear and chant about the glories of the Lord, to that extent this congratulation also applies to us, because this is not just about Prithu Maharaj, this is a spiritual principle. And why this attachment is wonderful? Because this is the cause of removing lust. Actually, lust cannot be removed by any material process. The path of karma doesn't remove lust. Even the path of jnana, even though it may subdue lust, it doesn't uproot altogether the deepest seeds of material enjoyment. Very clearly, the Bhagavatam mentions this. It is said only through bhakti the seeds of material enjoyment are totally burnt away, so that they will not sprout again. So first, the Kumaras start by congratulating and saying that you already have it, and you are very, very fortunate. Now they start answering the questions of Prithu Maharaj. I will only cover one verse because I think we are at 9:55. I'll just cover one verse, and that one verse, which is verse number 21, essentially summarizes the overall answer that the Kumaras are going to give. And that answer which the Kumaras are going to give, we have discussed in our classes 1001 times. As to what is the essence of the process of spiritual advancement. What is the summum bonum of the process of spiritual advancement? What leads to overall welfare for living entities? And there are two principles by which spiritual advancement or the process of overall welfare can be described in two simple statements. So before I reveal it, if you're not referring to the book, I would like you to make an attempt to guess what that answer would likely be. Let's see. And we have discussed this many times.
Attachment to Krishna and detachment from matter.
Okay, I want to hear all the answers, then I will. Thank you, Prabhu, Suresh Prabhu. Yes, any other answers? Okay. So this answer is the correct answer. We have discussed this many times earlier, that the summum bonum of spiritual advancement is that one should be detached from matter and one should develop attachment to Krishna. So see, whatever we are discussing here is what the great souls have spoken. That is what Narad Muni speaks. That is what the four Kumaras are speaking here. That is what Krishna is speaking in the Gita. The only cause of benefit, Shema, this is what the Kumaras say in the 21st verse, for human society has been conclusively established by scripture as 2 points. A, detachment from the bodily concept. B, attachment to the Lord. Exactly same, correct? Rati to the Lord, attachment to the Lord, and detachment from matter. So when we are detached to the bodily concept, of course, automatically there is detachment to matter. So summarily, the answer is that those processes which help us to reduce our bodily concept of life and become detached from matter, and those processes which help us to develop our attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will lead to our ultimate welfare. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. We will continue in our next class from verse 22. So actually, we have barely covered 21, means exactly 1/3 only we covered of the chapter. But never mind, it's a very beautiful discussion, and we discussed some extra points. So yes, we'll probably need at least one class, if not 2 more classes to complete this. So I'm opening up the floor. Any questions or any comments on what we have discussed?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, as a small announcement.
Yes, Prabhu, please.
Yeah. Hare Krishna to all devotees. Actually, tomorrow evening, we are just going to perform some bhajan at our house, Palmcourt Brickfields. So I would like to request all to please attend with your families. And our Prabhuji will lead that bhajan, followed by Krishna Prasad. Yeah,
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Sridhar Prabhu has become inspired by whatever Prithu Maharaj has spoken.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So Prabhu is inviting all of you. So there will be Hari Katha, Hari Kirtan, and Prasad. So perfect. So your invitation is perfectly aligned with the focus of today's class. So it is. You're instantly implementing what the Bhagavatam is saying. Yes, thank you. So please, I mean, those who are in KL, of course, those who are outside, you can join us in spirit. For those who are here, you can please reach out to Sridhar Prabhu and let him know that if you are attending and how many of you are coming. So what time, Prabhu, we are starting? You want to tell them? And you can post your address and the timing in the WhatsApp group later also, so that
sure.
Others are aware. Yeah.
Sure, Prabhuji. At 7:30 planning, Prabhuji. Yeah. 7 to 7:30. Yeah, anytime we can.
Yeah, around 7:30 we will start. The overall program will go on for an hour. So there'll be kirtan, there'll be some katha, and prasad. So Prabhu and family are cooking, and they will be offering to the deities and distributing the prasad for everyone. So all are welcome. Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, all devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Suresh Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhuji, a small doubt. This conversation, right? It is happening in earth or somewhere else, Prabhuji?
This conversation is happening on earth. So if you remember in the previous chapter itself, it was mentioned that Prithu Maharaj his capital was based in the land, in India, in the land between where the Ganga and the Yamuna flows. You remember? We recited that verse. But it is not that Prithu Maharaj was only the king of earth. He was the king of the whole Bhumandal. So what is the Bhumandal? We will discuss when we come to the 5th canto. It is far, far, far vast. But for many of these kings, still nonetheless, even though they rule the full Bhumandal, which is huge, Bhumandal is far beyond the earth. Far beyond means, the earth is not even 1% of the overall Bhumandal. There are many, many Varshas and Dvipas in the Bhumandal. But the capital was on earth, in the place between where the Ganga and the Yamuna flows.
Okay.
So yes, it happened on earth. Yes.
Very good.
Okay, wonderful, Jai. So we are so fortunate. Actually, as we hear all these conversations, I don't know about all of you, but for me, I feel so happy and blessed that whatever instructions the greatest of the great advanced devotees are giving to us through the Bhagavad, we have received all those guidance, instructions, and also the facility, the culture, and the setup by which we can perform all these activities in the association of devotees. That is the great blessing. So when I was very young, sorry, I'm just taking a couple of minutes. If you're getting late, you can drop off. So when I was very young, I was very attracted to spiritual life, but I was thinking that people around me are not at all spiritually inclined. Yeah, so I was feeling how I will make spiritual advancement. So somehow I came across Prabhupada's books. I came across Science of Self-Realization, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Krishna book, Bhagavad Gita, and a few other books as well. And as I was reading through them, I was just around probably 10 years old at that time. And I was reading them, and as I was reading through them, I was, seeing again and again, one must have association of devotees. In the association of devotees, this is what one should do. Oh, one should approach a spiritual master and serve the spiritual master. Oh, one should have prasad. One should do this. One should do sankirtan in the association of devotees. And I was, like beating my head. All this is wonderful, but how to do all this? Where are these devotees? Where are these devotees? So I wanted to do, but I couldn't do. I don't know where are these. Where all around I look, I only see materialistic people. So where are these devotees? But anyway, I continued and I prayed to Krishna. And in due course, as Krishna says, when one sincerely wants to get the facility for devotional service, Krishna arranges it. So Krishna gives us the opportunity to meet the Guru. And we are so fortunate that by the compassionate mercy of Srila Prabhupada and his followers, this opportunity to practice and follow all the principles that we are discussing here in the Gita and Bhagavad, the entire facility has been created in Kali Yuga for us. We cannot even fathom how. And in the cities where you are situated. It's not that you have to go to, deep in the Himalayas to do it. Not just on Earth planet, but within 10 to 15, 20 kilometer radius of where you are staying. Guaranteed, at least for those who are in this class. Guaranteed such an opportunity exists. Can you imagine what kind of a facility and blessing this is? This is amazing, because one thing is to philosophically know it, but that is not enough. If there's no opportunity to associate, if there's no opportunity to serve, if there's no opportunity to sit together with like-minded devotees and discuss Harikatha, how are we going to make advancement? We may know all this. So we should be so grateful to all these great devotees, Prabhupada and all our acharyas who have created this facility. For example, yesterday itself, across the world, so many places the Rath Yatra has been performed. Even though Puri is the original Rath Yatra, by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, Jagannath has been taken all around the world. And not just yesterday, but across the year in so many places, the Rath Yatra is celebrated, where thousands and thousands of devotees who have never been to Puri can see Jagannath, pull his Ratha, associate with devotees, offer him Naivedya, accept Prasad, do Sankirtan in the association of devotees. All these opportunities are being brought to the conditioned souls like us, brought to the doorstep. The process that the greatest of the souls are giving in the Bhagavatam is being offered to us on a platter. Lelo, ye lelo. This just within your reach, the topmost process. So how fortunate we are. So I'm mentioning this just so that we recognize that. So in KL, there was a very wonderful festival yesterday. We all joined. And Kolkata is one of the biggest Rath Yatras after Puri. Yesterday, His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj was there. I just posted a picture on Amrit Pravaha group where the Chief Minister of, in various places, the respective Chief Ministers have come and various big politicians come and they attend the Rath Yatra, they worship the Lord. She did Aarti for also and she took blessings of Jayapataka Maharaj also, Mamata Banerjee. Many other places also, many of these leaders do that. So it is so amazing. So even though we are in Kali Yuga, this is the opportunity that has come to our doorstep. So we have to recognize the good fortune that the great souls have created for us and take that opportunity. Otherwise, how would have it been possible for us to actually implement this? Correct? See, we spoke about this and Sridhar Prabhu immediately has organized something. So we have a facility to come together, discuss Hari Katha. If this facility was not there, even if Sridhar Prabhu had a desire, how would he have fulfilled it? Like, 40 years, there was I had no idea how am I going to do this. Because Prabhupada would repeatedly say, one should chant Hare Krishna in the association of devotees. One should discuss Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. And I'm thinking, where are these devotees? And even if I know where they are, how I'm going to sit with them together and discuss? But that has all come to pass. So that's a very wonderful thing. So thank you very much. So those who can come tomorrow, please come and let Sridhar Prabhu know. Prabhu, please post your address and the schedule. So it will be a 1 hour program. It's not going to be a very lengthy program, followed by dinner prasad. So those who can come are welcome. All are welcome. So please treat this as Prabhu's personal invitation and reach out to him. In the WhatsApp group, you will be able to find him. Prabhu, you just post quickly, then they will know which message to reply and they can let you know.
Yeah, sure,
Okay?
Prabhu.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki. So thank you. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhu.
So Prabhu, I think
Yes, Bhaskar Prabhu, yes. Bhaskar Prabhu.
yes,
They are feeling
Sridhar Prabhu.
separation
So
from you.
tomorrow I will not be able to join because I'm leaving Malaysia tomorrow. So tomorrow
Yes.
last day.
Thank you for reminding us. Bhaskar Prabhu is going to another chapter of his life. He is going to India and from there likely to the US. So we wish him all the best. Prabhu is also he has seriously taken benefit of all the opportunities that Prabhupada and Prabhupada's movement has offered. And, he's become very steadfast in devotional service, chanting 16 rounds, following the regulative principles, studying Gita, Bhagavad, and now CC very seriously, engaging in service, regularly taking association in the temple. So we are very proud of Prabhu and Prabhu's advancement and seriousness. So thank you so much, Prabhu, for all your association and all your enthusiastic participation all this while. Very enthusiastic, Prabhu. Even in Pines, he was always one of the most enthusiastic devotees in the class. Of course, so many of them, Suraj was there, Sridharji was there, and so many others were also there. But especially, Bhaskar Prabhu also very, very consistent and enthusiastic.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Santanam Prabhu now, of course, so many of them are continuing. So please keep in touch, Prabhu, like we discussed.
Yes, Prabhu.
And like what I just mentioned, by Prabhupada's grace, wherever you go, you will get this opportunity.
Yeah.
That is the wonderful thing.
Yeah. So I
Even
seek
if
all
you
your
go, even if you, yes, our best wishes, Prabhu. All devotees can please give their blessings to Bhaskar Prabhu and his family for his welfare in all aspects of his life, material and spiritual. So we pray for you, Prabhu,
Thank
to
you very much,
Jagannath,
Prabhu.
that may all good fortune be on you and your family.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Jai Ho. Thank you so much for all your contribution and service.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we'll miss you. I was just mentioning to Sridhar Prabhu a little while ago that Bhaskar Prabhu is leaving. Perhaps he will not be able to attend.
Yeah.
So anyway, you can be there in spirit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Hari
Thank you.
Bol.
Hari
Jai.
Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.